Hi guys, greetings to all of you out there. I hope you are staying safe and healthy. Some of you know me and have interacted with me. For others whom I haven't interacted much with, hi, I am Aayush Bajaj, the founding partner of AR Finance Room, along with my buddy Rahul Talwar. Firstly, I would like to really express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have really appreciated my financial modeling videos, and you guys have provided your valuable feedback, which of course we're working on it. Then I would like to talk to you regarding something important. A lot of people have submitted their financial models, which of course I'm really very happy, since you are really working on skill development during the times of lockdown. That's good. So some of you have provided your financial models to us for our inputs and suggestions. And what I have observed is that a lot of models have something in common, which I thought it's better to make a video regarding that. Now, whenever you are preparing a financial model, guys, there are certain parameters that you need to keep in mind. Of course, I am not saying that there is an appropriate way of a financial model. So everyone can have their own style of making financial models. But how can we better present our financial model? Are there some appropriate attributes that we need to keep in mind while preparing financial models? Well, of course there are. So if you keep these parameters that I'm going to tell you, your model will really be powerful enough. You'll see that. All right. So the first one is that whenever you're working on a financial model, guys, keep in mind that it should be realistic. What do I mean by realistic? Is that, for example, we'll do everything by example here. So, for example, you are analyzing a company and you are looking at the previous, let's say, 3 to 4 years of a historical performance of a company, and you find out that the revenue growth that the company is able to achieve is somewhere between, let's say, 15% to 18%, right? And so if you're making the projections, can you in the next year itself say that, okay, the revenue will grow by the rate of, let's say, 30%, right? That's not realistic, right? 15% versus 2x of a growth rate in the immediate next year. If you are doing that, you should have an appropriate backing. I'm not saying that it cannot be achieved, but there should be significant amount of backing that you need. Either the company is going for a transaction or something that's happening that will lead to that 30% of a growth rate. So what I mean by this is that whatever assumptions you are taking, whatever assumptions you are considering for your financial model, that should be realistic. It shouldn't be very vague assumptions or some assumptions that easily reflect that, okay, that's very biased assumptions, right? So it should be realistic in nature. The second one is that your model should be error free. That's very important, guys. You cannot send a financial model to anyone if it contains errors, ref errors, val errors, num errors, any sort of error, right? Even in the calculation, just check your calculations. So whenever whenever you think that, okay, you have finished a financial model, just go back, flip through your worksheets, see, just browse through your computations, see that everything is fine. All right. So absolutely no errors in the financial model. Then your financial model should be flexible. Very important. It should be flexible. Now, what do I mean by a flexible financial model? By flexible, I mean that even if you change one parameter, your model should be flexible to take that change and show the results accordingly. For example, discount rate. If I say, okay, instead of 10%, it is 15%. So if I just input 15% instead of that 10%, my model should be flexible enough that it'll give me the value accordingly. All right. And another example can be, okay, if I just switch from a scenario of base case to, let's say, worst case, right? So is my model flexible enough that if I select a switch, if I select a scenario, everything is linked to that scenario and I get the output accordingly. So keep that in mind. Your model should be flexible enough. And how do you make your model flexible enough? To give a very layman's example, everything in your model should be connected to an input sheet, right? Just if I just tell you in the layman terms that there should be one sheet having all the inputs and everything in your model should be linked to your input sheet, that will help you create a flexible model. All right, of course there are technicalities attached to it, but I try to frame it in a very simple manner for you. Then the next one is that your model should be easy to understand. What do I mean by easy to understand? Your formulas. If I, being a third person, can understand those formulas, your model is easy. That's a very important parameter. If you are not there, if you are not there and in your absence, someone is reading your financial model, he should be able to understand, right? No, absolutely try avoiding the usage of very long formulas. Try to keep the formulas short, right? And I always encourage whenever I'm teaching financial modeling in my courses, I always encourage people to keep the formulas very short. You don't need to use VLOOKUPs, you don't need to use sum ifs. Everything can be solved with just if formula in a financial model, and you'll be surprised how complicated formulas also can be solved using just if formulas and various flags and counters. Let's not dive in too much into it here. Then there should be an appropriate formatting. That's very important. What do I mean by appropriate formatting? Is that let's talk about numbers, for example. If you are presenting your financial model in the form of, let's say, 1 decimal, then everything in your financial model, right from the input stage to the output stage, everything in your financial model should be presented in 1 decimal space only. It should not happen that, okay, top 3 rows are giving 1 decimal space numbers, then 3 rows are giving 2 decimal space numbers. It becomes very cumbersome for people to read that model. All right, so keep the formattings in place. If you're writing a revenue or if you're writing the description anywhere, try using an appropriate description to it, right? Not just rent from this. Okay, to write down, if you are in a hospitality industry, for example, average room rent per day from super deluxe room, right? Just describe what you are writing. All right, so that again, if someone is reading your financial, if you're sending it to me for review, for example, or anyone for that matter, is giving it to the client, right? So he should get a hold of what you are trying to do in that financial model. Okay, then a very important thing which I have observed in almost all the financial models is that you are manually entering the formulas, manually entering the values in the formulas. Guys, absolutely no hard coding in the formulas. What do I mean by hard coding is that no manual entries inside a formula. Everything should be linked to an input sheet. You will only enter the manual numbers in the input sheet. Otherwise, in every sheet, you will simply link the values or link the formulas or whatever you are doing, you're just linking it to the input sheet. You are not entering anything manually. Lastly, your financial model should be well organized. What do I mean by well organized model? It should flow from the start to the end, right? It should not happen that, okay, you're starting your model with an input sheet. The first worksheet is the input sheet. Then the second worksheet is the balance sheet. The third worksheet is the revenue computation. The fourth worksheet is the output sheet. So that becomes very cumbersome for someone who's reading your financial model. Why? Because then in that scenario, he will have to move to and fro he will have to toggle between the worksheets. Right? So that should not happen. If you're starting your model with the input sheet, go on to the revenue computation, go on to the P&L, go on to the subsequent schedules, then you will flow your financial model accordingly. All right, just in a very layman's terms, so if you are talking about a very basic financial model, what all sheets it will have? It will have the input sheet, it will have the revenue computation, it will have the profit and loss statement, it will have fixed asset schedule, it will have debt schedule, it will have working capital computation, it will have cash flow statement, it will have balance sheet, it will have output sheet, right? So that's a very basic flow of a financial model. Just keep in mind these parameters. So that's all from my side. Next time you're preparing the financial model, guys, try implementing these inputs that I have just described, and you'll see how powerful results you'll start getting with the financial model. Even if you read it the next time, you will observe that it's very easier for you to see what you have done, right? All the very best, guys. I hope you liked this video, and if you want that I should do more of these videos, I would really appreciate if you can just type in your comment below, so that I'll also get to know whether such kind of tips and tricks are really helpful or not. And I'll be very happy to post more such tips and tricks regarding investment banking as a profession, and also CPA or ACCA for that matter. All the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep learning.